Picture someone sitting down at an instrument for the very first time. The hands don't know yet where to go. Every note is a small negotiation between what they meant to play and what actually came out. If that's ever been you, you already know what the feeling I want to talk about today, because I think growing older works in almost exactly the same way. But before I go on, I would like to confess a little bit that English is not my native language, and because of that I use a script for this video and the following ones to stay on track and to really be able to convey everything I want to say to you. So I'm Diresia, and in a book I came across 4 ideas about aging recently, and these I would like to share with you today. The first idea I always took for granted. Now, having sat with it for a while, I realize how much it actually holds. So stay with me and the image of the instrument for a moment, because I'm going to keep coming back to it. At the start, you're all effort. Your fingers search for the right keys. Mistakes are simply part of the process, and you accept that because you have to. In my case, honestly, this is an Irish flute. Those mistakes never quite left. I still catch myself fumbling the same passages I fumbled years ago, and I have made peace with it far more slowly than I'd like to admit. But something does shift with time, that's for sure. The movement stops being a search and becomes a skill. And here's the part that took me a long time to understand. Skill isn't mastery yet. Mastery only begins once experience gets some depth to it. You stop just hitting the right notes and start developing a feel for sound, for expression, for the silence between one note and the next. Connections open up that were simply invisible to you as a beginner. That's what I think happens to us when we age too. In the first half of life, we are shaping our days. And the second half, our days start shaping us. Some outward possibilities do narrow, I won't pretend otherwise, but what grows instead is inner room. More depth where there used to be more motion. Now, here's the strange part. The longer you spend at that instrument, the less you find yourself listening with your ears alone. You start listening for something further in, for what the piece is actually trying to say. Saint-Exupéry put this better than I ever could in a line from The Little Prince. You've probably heard, even if you've never read the book. It's only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Most people know that sentence. Fewer know where it comes from. The little prince has spent his days taming a fox, visiting patiently until trust grows between them. When he has to leave, he thinks of the rose he has left back on his own planet and can't work out why she matters so much to him when she's no more remarkable than any other rose. The fox tells him plainly, "It is the time you have wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important." I sometimes think about that line. I do something I've practiced and done for years. The dogs, the garden, this instrument. None of it became important because it was impressive. It became important because I gave it time. Your eyes take in shape, color, surface. Your heart is the only thing that registers what was actually invested. The devotion, the returning, the choosing, and the growing love. That to me is the second thing aging teaches. Your gaze turns slowly from what's out there to what's essential. And essential carries essence right inside the word, the part no eye can reach on its own. Here's what I have to be honest with you about, something I haven't resolved. I know intellectually that things can't be rushed, and yet there are still days I sit down and want the piece to already sound the way it'll sound in 5 years. I want the fluency without the fumbling that gets me there. I suspect you know this exact tension, even if your own version of it has nothing to do with an instrument. You've stood at the same crossroads, wanting to trust the process and pushing against it anyway, because waiting is hard even once you know better. I don't have a tidy resolution for that. I'm still working it out most days, one attempt at a time. What I do have is a story that's helped me sit with it a little more easily. Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha spends most of the novel on the wrong path before he finds his own. When the merchant Kamaswami asks what he can actually do, Siddhartha answers, I can think, I can wait, I can fast. Waiting turns out to be his greatest strength, not passive endurance, but trust that things unfold at their own rate. Think again of the instrument. You can't force a piece to be ready before it's ready. Not the fingers, not the phrasing, not the feel for what to hold back and when to let a note breathe. Patience, understood this way, isn't standing still. It's doing the work and then genuinely giving it the time it needs. That's true of relationships, of healing, of trust, of anything that grows rather than gets assembled. As you get older, I think you stop fighting the clock quite so hard and learn gradually to work alongside it instead. And that patience, given enough time, tends to turn into something else. Not just skill, not just feeling, but something closer to wisdom. There's a line traceable to Confucius that captures that well. What the superior man seeks is in himself. What the small man seeks is in others. Siddhartha spends his whole life chasing wisdom through asceticism, through learning, through wealth, through love, and only near the end understands that none of it can simply be taught to him. It has to be lived, then reflected on, then understood. Life, it turns out, isn't really about arriving at the answer. It's about learning to ask the right question and meet it with some patience and humility. So, if you go back to this image we started with, hands on an instrument, uncertain, searching, here's what I'd like to say to you now. The searching doesn't stop. It just changes shape. Practice becomes skill. Skill becomes a feel for what matters. Patience turns doing into understanding. And understanding, given enough years, start to be wisdom. Not because you arrived somewhere final, but because you kept sitting back down at the instrument year after year, willing to still be a beginner at something. Even so, there's a harder question I haven't touched yet. What carries you when illness, financial worry, or the loss of a role you've always had walks into the room uninvited. That's what I want to talk about in the next video. For now, though, I'd love to know, what's the one thing that's taught you patience, the way this instrument has taught me? Tell me about it in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you.